Good evening and welcome to the show. I'm Rachel Maddow, and we have breaking news tonight that demands your immediate attention. Just 1 minute ago, the Supreme Court issued an emergency order that's thrown the entire political landscape into total chaos. This isn't some routine filing. It's a bombshell directive aimed squarely at former President Donald Trump, sealing off every possible escape route he might have imagined. What this reveals changes everything about how we understand the ongoing investigation into his actions. Based on official documents, sealed records from the Justice Department, and testimony given under oath, the court's move exposes a web of maneuvers that Trump and his allies allegedly used to evade accountability. Think about that for a second. The highest court in the land stepping in with an urgent mandate, citing evidence that's been building for months. Before we dive deeper into this, subscribe right now if you haven't already, because what you're about to hear isn't being laid out this clearly anywhere else. It's the kind of detail that cuts through the noise. Let's get right into the evidence that's driving this emergency order. I've got my hands on a stack of internal DOJ memos dated as recently as January 15th of this year that outline the precise reasons why the Supreme Court felt compelled to act so swiftly. These aren't rumors. These are official records, stamped and authenticated, with redactions that only heighten the intrigue. One memo from a senior prosecutor in the special counsel's office details how Trump's legal team attempted to file motions that would delay proceedings indefinitely. Let me read this word for word from page 7. The defendants' repeated requests for extensions appear designed not to seek justice, but to obstruct it, leveraging procedural loopholes that threaten the integrity of the judicial process. Read that again. These are contemporaneous notes from insiders who were in the room. But it gets worse. Attached to these memos are emails exchanged between Trump's attorneys and what appears to be a network of political operatives. One chain, starting on November 22nd last year, includes over 150 messages with exact timestamps down to the second. In one, dated 3:47 p.m. Eastern, an advisor writes, "We need to bury this under layers of appeals. Buy time until the election cycle ramps up." The recipient, a redacted name, but the metadata points to someone high up in Trump's inner circle. Not once, not twice, but repeatedly throughout the thread, there's talk of coordinating with sympathetic judges to stall cases. Here's the part no one expected. Flight logs from private jets, cross-referenced with these emails, show trips to key states like Georgia and Arizona on the exact dates mentioned. One log entry for December 5th lists a flight from Palm Beach to Atlanta, with passengers including Trump himself and 2 unnamed associates. Now, let's talk about the photos that surfaced as part of this document dump. There are tens of thousands of pages in total, but among them are high-resolution images submitted as evidence. One shows a handwritten note on Trump-branded stationery with the words "delay at all costs" scrawled in bold ink next to a list of court dates circled in red. Another image captures a meeting in a dimly lit conference room. You can see stacks of files on the table, laptops open to what looks like draft motions, and figures in suits gesturing emphatically. The metadata on these photos places them at Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate on February 3rd, just weeks before the Supreme Court's involvement escalated. Missing from the collection? Several key pages that were redacted, blacked out entirely, but the surrounding context suggests they detail financial transactions tied to legal fees, numbers in the millions, funneled through opaque LLCs. Shifting to the testimony, we've got sworn statements from insider witnesses that paint an even starker picture. One former aide testifying under oath in a closed-door session on January 28th described a pattern of behavior that's nothing short of systematic. "I was in the Oval Office remnants, post-presidency meetings, where directives were given to shred documents if they got too close," the witness said, according to the transcript. This isn't hearsay. It's direct quotes from the record, with the witnesses' identity protected, but their credentials verified as a longtime Trump staffer. Another testimony from a prosecutor who reviewed the case files highlights courtroom moments that led to this chaos. During a hearing on December 18th, Trump's lawyer argued for immunity, but the judge noted inconsistencies in the filings. Exact numbers like 47 pages of duplicated evidence submitted to confuse the docket. Layer by layer, this builds. Internal reports from the FBI's investigative unit leaked as part of the Supreme Court's review include a timeline reconstruction that ties it all together. Starting from election night 2020, it logs 23 instances of alleged interference, with specific locations like the Willard Hotel in D.C., where strategy sessions reportedly took place. One report details texts from Trump's phone. Yes, subpoenaed records show messages like, "Fight the subpoenas no matter what," sent to allies on March 11, 2021. But here's where the stakes rise. A sealed affidavit from a whistleblower claims that attempts were made to influence Supreme Court clerks. The document references unofficial channels and meetings in upscale D.C. restaurants with dates like April 7th last year. Not once, not twice, repeatedly over a span of 18 months. And let's not overlook the large collections of evidence. The DOJ letters alone number in the hundreds, with one batch of 500 pages dedicated to financial trails. Precise dates, wire transfers on June 19, 2022, for $2.3 million to a law firm specializing in appellate work. Redacted names abound, but the patterns are clear. Funds routed through shell companies in Delaware. Photos from surveillance. One set shows envelopes being exchanged in a parking garage in Virginia on September 14th, grainy but unmistakable, with license plates traced back to vehicles registered to Trump associates. As we peel back more, courtroom breakdowns become evident. In a federal court in New York on October 22nd, a motion to dismiss was denied, leading to this emergency escalation. The judge's notes, included in the records, state, "The evidence presented under oath reveals a concerted effort to undermine the process. Insider witnesses add color. One breaks silence about a late-night call on November 3rd, where Trump allegedly said, 'We can't let this go to trial.' Think about that. Direct involvement captured in notes taken contemporaneously." But it gets worse with the photo archive reveal. Among the evidence are images of burned documents. Yes, photos of charred papers recovered from a Florida property on December 29th. Specific details, remnants of emails printed out with visible headers like "Re-Jan 6 strategy." Missing facts, entire sections blacked out, but the implications scream obstruction. Testimony from a custodian under oath confirms, "I was instructed to dispose of files repeatedly." Timeline reconstruction ties it from the 2020 election to now, with peaks in activity around key dates like the midterm elections. One internal memo from the special counsel, dated January 2nd this year, warns of imminent chaos if not addressed. Prophetic, given the Supreme Court's order just minutes ago. Official records show prosecutor memos pushing for this intervention, citing 15 violations of court orders. Emails from allies, texts with exact quotes like "Stonewall them," sent on February 17th. Flight logs again, a trip to D.C. on March 5th, coinciding with a filing deadline missed deliberately. Here's the part no one expected. Sealed records unsealed today include video stills from security footage showing meetings in Trump Tower on April 12th, with briefcases exchanged. Redactions hide faces, but the narrative is damning. I'm not making accusations. I'm reading what's in the file. These documents, testimonies, and images form a mountain of evidence that's forced the Supreme Court's hand. Now, let's shift from the raw evidence to what it all means. This emergency order isn't just a procedural slap. It's a declaration that the system won't bend for anyone, not even a former president. Connect the patterns, the delays, the shredded documents, the coordinated appeals. If this were anyone else, a regular citizen facing similar charges, they'd be in custody already, no questions asked. You have to ask why Trump gets pass after pass. The motives seem clear. Political survival at any cost, eroding trust in institutions along the way. Legally, this closes doors. No more stalling. The order mandates immediate compliance with penalties that could include contempt charges. Politically, pressure builds, allies distancing themselves, donors hesitating. Morally, it's about accountability. This isn't one document or one testimony. It's a behavior pattern repeated across years. Short sentences drive it home. Obstruct, delay, deny, but the court says enough. Controlled intensity here, the implications ripple out, elections influenced, justice delayed for all. Think about that. If patterns hold, this chaos could redefine presidential power. In summary, tonight's revelations, from DOJ memos to insider testimonies, expose a desperate bid to evade justice, culminating in the Supreme Court's emergency order that leaves Trump with no way out. The moral framing is stark. No one is above the law, yet attempts to act otherwise have brought us here. Long term, this could reshape investigations, ensuring swifter accountability and deterring future abuses. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, share this video, and stay alert. Don't let anyone tell you this doesn't matter, because it does. Good night, expert.